Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to KOTORadio, the only... Start over?
Off to a roaring start.
To rewind the opening credits.
Great. Look, I practiced that for a... You know what? It's going in the show. Because I practiced that all day today. And I couldn't even nail it right.
That's alright, though. I think because we are excited, because we get to talk about Star Wars for a while, and we have lots to talk about.
We do have lots to talk about. The line, by the way, which I was very proud of, was Welcome to KOTORadio, the only radio show not on the radio. No? Alright, maybe that's not good, but you know. Anyways, my name is Kevin Smets. Of course, I directed and made the first KOTOR movie trilogy with the Logan-verse ones, the Logan Star movies, if you will, starting back in 2006. What I have here with me is Kevin Strick. He was the voice of Admiral Strick in Episode 3, The Circle of Fate.
Today, we win. Or tomorrow our widows will weep under the Sith banner.
If you guys remember, give us an Admiral Strick line.
Go tell HR.
I can't believe
I butchered that. I don't have that right.
Don't make me.
Nice scales.
I can't believe that line made the movie. Don't make me call HR.
Yes, sir.
What? Why are you standing so close to me? Give me some space, kid. Don't make me call HR.
Sorry, sir.
Like, that is such an earthly
But
thing.
it's good. I think, but you know, you said right before the thing, kind of one of the influences and kind of what was in my head was the J. Jonah Jameson character from, you know, Spider-Man comics and such. So he always was kind of, you know, speaking on the fly and almost like the cigar's just hanging in the air, you know.
If I could have animated a cigar, he would have had the cigar.
Yeah, so, you know, it's something like calling HR or whatever. It's ridiculous and it's out there, but, you know, that guy would kind of go on those kind of tirades that anything would go, you know. Parker, get out of here.
Get off my thing. We're testing out broadcasting live for when we do it later, and we have our trio of teammates here, Jenks, Darth Ycey, and JC. Without these guys, the movies would have hit points, and we'll get into that later. And they would be crap, to be honest. So we do have the trio listening in. They'll Skype. I could see them Skype in if they want to correct me, because they're more the Pablo Hidalgos than I am, to be honest. But anyways, to give you a rundown, he was Revan. Kevin Strick was Revan in the flesh at MagFest. He was doing all of our promotional work, holding up signs, dressed fully as Revan. And then as a surprise, at the Q&A, at the Episode 2 premiere, he took the mask off mid-Q&A and had shaved his head and dyed his hair and had the whole Logan Star bald and the goatee, or the Fu Manchu, whatever it is. And he was so gung-ho about that. I think we have video existing. I got to put that on the channel.
Oh, yes.
Maybe Episode 2 we'll play it.
Yes, I was well, there was the night before. We had plenty of Younglings, or whatever not Younglings. What's the beer on the East Coast that...
Jedi Younglings? Anakin's favorite. Yingling.
Okay, and we had plenty of those, and I remember, you know, you had the Bic or whatever, and I was like, dude, it'll be epic.
You were so excited for that.
That was fun times, and we went through with it, and it was, someone did have recording of me kind of at that point of going, oh, I know what should happen, what we should do tomorrow, and it manifested.
Would you have bicked your hair totally bald if you knew how long the process was? It doesn't grow back as fast as it did when we were youngins.
Right, this day, and not fully covering the head either. You know, I have a little Star Wars Galactic unknown regions going on up here as well. So, no, I probably wouldn't do that again. I think it was maybe kind of one last little hurrah of I'm pretty sure I think I'm still young here. So
that's funny. To give you,
but it was well worth it. Well worth it.
And now Kev is also of all of us. We have our team here. Like I said, we have JC, we have Jenks, Stephen Jenks, and then we also have Brandon. That's Darth Ycey. Of the three, or of the four of us, they're all more talented at the KOTOR game than I am, and more knowledgeable. Then it goes me. If there's anyone after me, that'll go Kevin Strick. His only knowledge of the games are from our movies. His entry into the movies, or into the KOTOR world, is literally through my movies. I remember showing him, we had some adult beverages, and I showed him Episode 1 in 2006 before I moved to Austin. And that was his first entry. Then I showed him Episode 2 when that was done, when I was living in L.A.
Exactly.
He is our layman, so I'll probably explain a lot of things. What I might know, he won't. And what I don't know, I'm sure the trio knows. So
let's be clear here. I have not played a single second of any of the Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2 games.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to get into galactic news, but first, I'm going to give you the first of 4 things. You have to listen throughout the show for 4 words or names or items that I'm going to say. And whoever is the first to write on the comments what I'm telling you, what things I tell you, you will win an episode 3 DVD, okay? And whoever writes the 4 and puts it on comments or on Facebook, whoever has the earliest time code, you get a free DVD. I'll ship it over to you next week. So we're going to get into the first, I'm going to give you a name here and just write this down. And this actually forces you to listen to the whole show. So
once you get this, you're in.
Yeah.
There's no turning back after this.
First name, Terrace. That is the planet Terrace. Taris, Terrace. And later in the show, I'll give you the next one, and you can figure that out. And so what we're going to do now is move on to Galactic News. First of all, if you didn't know already, now you know, Iceman's finale has been released. KOTOR, Episode 6, Nights in the Darkness, Part 2. And oh my god, what a finale it was. We're going to get into a review later. I do have a funny story about you, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When you were supposed to watch, and I linked to you, or I told you to watch, Nights in the Darkness Part 2.
I know what you're going to say.
And so he fires up his YouTube on the smart TV, which, if you use like a PS4 or whatever, it can only display so many.
Yeah, so I had an Amazon stick, and I got onto the YouTube app and was looking for which, movie to watch. And looked up Nights and the Darkness, and the first one that came up was, this 3-hour one or whatever. But the thing was the title of the movie, the title of the video was so long that I couldn't tell that there was a difference between Part 1 and Part 2. So I ended up watching all of Part 1.
Well, you were halfway through it. You were like an hour and a half, and then I got to my phone, and you had texted me, "Oh, this is 3 hours," and I knew the new one isn't 3 hours; it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
Which actually ended up working out because we'll get to the review later, but he did pre-watch of the 3-hour other one. But it's just glad that you didn't watch. I think it was the second one that he did, which was 3 hours and 44 minutes. Then you might have been mad. I think it's 3 hours and 44 minutes.
Yeah, because it was at least the Nights in the Darkness part, which I at least remember the name.
Yeah.
Was familiar, but
it was good that you got to watch it because that probably made your enjoyment of episode.
Well, right, and the thing is my perspective on all this is just the Star Wars fan in me just appreciated what I was seeing, even if I hadn't played the game or fully knew the characters. And so shout out to can we pronounce this on record? Is it Ice? Is it Weiss? Is it Ycey?
I would think it's Iceman because he has like an icicle kind of sound effect. But I just call him Darth Ycey. So Weiss, because of the Y.
Well, that's what I'm asking with the Y. Is it Weiss or is it Ice?
I think it's Ice.
But we got to get a verdict on that.
Maybe Iceman as we start. I'm going to start into the Galactic News here. But his movie is released and he actually made a video. Here is a special message from Darth Ycey, or as Strick would like to call him, Darth Ycey.
Oh. Hey, KOTORverse. Iceman, aka Darth Ycey here. Just wanted to say congrats to my buddy Kevin for getting KOTORadio off and running, and also pass along my thanks to everyone who watched Nights in the Darkness Part 2. This was definitely a fun story to film, with some great voice actors, original story ideas, and some exciting action sequences. I couldn't have envisioned concluding my 4-part series in a better way. I also wanted to send out a big thanks to Kevin, Jinx, JC, and the entire Loganverse for their support, especially with this latest installment. I have to tell you, it's been so much fun making this series. I appreciate all the fans out there, both old and new, and a special thanks to everyone who has been with me from the beginning. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years since I started filming Rise of the Sith Lords. I've come a long way since then, and so have the tools available to us filmmakers to help make these movies possible. As Kevin will tell you too, our goal has always been to tell fun and exciting KOTOR stories that fans could experience without having to play the games all the way through. So I hope you've enjoyed the ride so far, but don't unbuckle yet. There's lots more cool stuff to come.
That was awesome.
I watched that and I almost teary-eyed right now. Like, it's oddly tense too. Like, it's a funny thing,
he's
but,
coming.
This dude's coming, and it's just him talking and just unaware of like that giant robot.
I love it. And from the horse's mouth, Iceman, we know now, how it's pronounced, and awesome. I mean, from the fanboy in me watching both movies, having watched both movies now, and as well, you know, his wife, Mrs. Iceman, she is the voice of Mitra,
phenomenal.
you know, so and I know
because you saw the other one, you saw the jump in quality too.
Oh, yeah.
Like I watched a little of the first part today when I was, and I mean, she wasn't bad, but the level of quality she jumped from part 2 from part 1 is insane. It's huge.
Right. And I mean, what you finally mentioned, or not finally mentioned, but what I didn't clue into the first time was that was 3 years ago. Was it 2014 with the first one? Oh,
yeah. Hey, go ahead and watch the new release, 2014.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, that would make sense.
Well, we'll get to the review later, but we just want to give props again to Brandon or to Ice. I mean, I gotta remember these people. They don't know by their first name like I do. Good job. That video, by the way, just cracked me up. All right, next news item. This is huge, you guys. My favorite show on YouTube of anything. I mean, I listen to Collider all the time. I read their articles and stuff, but their YouTube content is fantastic. And I found out that I had a mutual friend, my friend Rachel Cushing is friends with Christian Harloff. When I found that out, and I forget how, she did a post for Collider. I'm like, wait, you work for Collider? She's like, oh, I knew Christian Harloff from back in the days. And as a fellow editor, I was like, oh my god, Rachel. And actually, that was the kickstart that kicked my ass into making those DVDs finally, which is probably good. And because every show on Collider Jedi Council, Christian always talks about Revan. He always brings up how KOTOR is his favorite game. What's your favorite Star Wars game? No, Knights of the Old Republic. Oh, I wish Knights of the Old Republic could have been a movie, stuff like that. So I finally got in his hands Knights of the Old Republic, Episode 3, The Circle of Fate.
Really?
Yeah. And he, on the Collider Jedi Council show, brought it up, and it made my day. It really did. Like, because I listen to them almost every day from their daily movie talk show or their weekly Jedi Council show, to hear them mention me at all, or mention the movies that all of our team has made, it's fantastic. So we're going to just show that on the screen here, and you can take a look. This is Christian Harloff mentioning he actually watched KOTOR Episode 3. He got a DVD hard copy, and thanks to Rachel, you are awesome for getting that in his hands, and here you go.
Friend of the show, Kevin Smets, had done this video for, he edited together. Knights of the Republic is one of my favorite video games of all time. And so our friend Rachel Cushing, who is friends with Kevin Smets, he had edited together an entire movie that he did the dialogue for and pieced together hours upon hours of the footage and basically turned it into a over a 2-hour movie. Oh, wow. I watched this on the plane. When we went to New York, and I was like, how's he going to make a complete through line? And he follows the Knights of the Old Republic storyline with Revan and everything that he's got to go through and the emotions behind it. And there's certain things I'm like, how does he do that? Because I don't remember that in the game, and if I do, it certainly didn't go that way. He changed things up and took all this footage. It's really fascinating. So I got to give a shout out to him, and he's a big fan of the show. And you know, dude, the amount of work that you put into that, bravo! It was really good, well done, and hopefully we get a Knights of the Republic movie down the line.
TV show.
Yeah. All right.
There you go. I mean, that made my day. Right? He watched it on a plane. I knew they were in New York. It's funny that he saw it. So. That was a real thrill. I want to thank Rachel again, and I also want to thank Christian Harloff. I don't think he'll ever listen to this show, but if he ever does, thanks, man. That meant a lot, and I'm glad. I mean, the guy talks about KOTOR every other episode, if not even more than that. So I think it was right up his alley. I really think that the Revan prequels will be up his alley.
Yeah, dude. People, all kinds of people are going to hear this around the world, places that we've never been. Yeah. Who knows? It's Star Wars. It's all love. So that's awesome. Really cool that happened. And dude, you worked your ass off, man.
Well, the guys too. I mean, we'll get into it during the Q&A. There's a question about it. But yeah, he's not kidding when he says there's a lot of hard work done. Like that. Yes. It's insane. So thanks, Christian. Thanks to the guys at Collider Jedi Council. Maybe we'll get another shout out here sometime soon. Next item here, the Revan prequel. We got casting news here. And this is something I'm really excited about, and I'm going to show you a couple pictures here as I talk about it. We are pleased to announce that Christina Nichols, who played Bastila, bet you didn't know that, Bastila in the hologram in Knights of the Darkness Part 2, that wasn't Jennifer Hale. I mean, I don't have Jennifer Hale on speed dial, so she didn't say, I love you, Logan. We had Christina play Bastila.
I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I have to believe you'll return someday. And when you do, I thought you'd want to see how fast your son was growing up.
And then she also helped out, and she played Yari, too, in Iceman's new flick, Knights in the Darkness Part 2.
The Emperor does not like to be disturbed. If he feels you've wasted his time, you will be punished.
She's going to play Sereth Lockhart. This is part of the Revan prequel trilogy. This is showing Strick here, a couple shots of Sereth Lockhart. She is a treasure hunter. She's a freedom fighter. The way I can best describe her and how I've written her is, and JC's written her, she's got a lot of sass to her. She's the female Indiana Jones. Back before that one cartoon, I think they have a comic right now on the Star Wars line of Marvel Comics. Where they have an archaeologist she's actually a pretty cool character. But I always wanted to have a character back in the day named Hudson, who was in Star Wars, a male archaeologist. So we were able to, with the prequels, we're calling her Sereth Lockhart. She has a little bit of an interesting past to her, but she's basically an archaeologist during the Mandalorian Wars who befriends or becomes allies or enemies with Logan. I'm not going to tell you what. Christina is actually a really talented actress. She does lots of voice work, and here's the kicker. She's a huge Star Wars fan. She's probably a bigger Star Wars fan than me even. I mean, shockingly enough. So the level of passion she's going to bring into it. So, because we're going to use her for a lot of things, as that is a good segue. Do you have any comments on Sarah before I move on?
Obviously, I think immediately coming to mind with female treasure hunter archaeologists is, a Lara Croft Tomb Raider type character. And I have a lot of the Lara Croft comic books.
Yeah.
And it'll be cool to see that in a Star Wars environment. So, that's cool. Really
in fact,
cool.
like one of the first things she's doing, and it's a big homage to Indiana Jones, is she's tracking down a piece of treasure.
The Ark of the Covenant?
No. Well, no. Might as well be. But yeah, she's tracking it down. So, Jennifer Hale who? So, moving forward, no offense, Jennifer Hale.
We're hear from her lawyers.
Yeah, I'm sure she's a huge fan of the KOTOR movie trilogy. We're going to go on to Deadly Stream News. This is going to be a new section we're going to do. Deadly Stream. Now, I'm not as steeped in this culture as some of the other guys. Some of our teammates are actually in it. The fact these guys do mods, they're the modding community. So if you want to get Karth dressed as Captain America and call him Captain Americarth, and you want to play KOTOR on your PC with Karth dressed as Captain America, you can do it. I remember before I ever did these movies, or maybe it was one of the first year, I worked around some mods where it just let me be anybody I wanted, and that's how I did the Feed on the Jedi.
Feed on the dark side that is within all of us.
It was a hologram scene. I did that using a mod I downloaded. You could tell because the PC had horrible frame rate or whatever. I played KOTOR 2 in Paragus as Darth Maul, which I was like, hey, look, I hate Paragus, so if I'm going to frickin' play Paragus, I'm going to be Darth Maul. Like, people make mods. So there's this whole community called Deadly Stream where it could be the most minor things, like just a cool new reskin texture of the ship and make it look like more like an original trilogy ship. Some of these things I don't understand. Like, there's hilts. Like, oh, you want the hilt to look like Qui-Gon's hilt. Like, there's other ones like, prequel era robes, because the Jedi robes in KOTOR, they look like KOTOR robes, but you can make them look legit like Mace Windu or whatever. You can change the Sith Troopers to look like Stormtroopers. Huge modding community. So that's my setup for what Deadly Stream is. It's just like we have a huge community for our movies, there's a huge community for the mods, and there are just some crazy mods out there. I'm supporting that right now on the YouTube by showing you some of the craziest ones I found, and I'll probably put it in the background. So I'm going to go through a couple of these news items from the Deadly Stream. These are good people. I haven't communicated with a lot of them before, but some of them make some pretty good videos on YouTube, and I'll get into that too. The first one is M478 Enhancement Project. Version 1.3 is in beta testing right now, and they're looking for testers. Now, this mod restores the M478, a droid planet cut from KOTOR 2. KOTOR 2 had an entire planet cut. Interestingly enough, this is what Iceman used as the basis for Nathema, M499. Remember the droid planet with all the droids that he was fighting? He used the content. Now, that content existed in the game data, but for some reason, KOTOR 2, and I'll get into, you can find out a lot more about this, KOTOR 2 was rushed. They half-assed the ending, and they took out a planet. Like, they were like, well, we don't have time to finish this planet up. And it was a droid planet. So they were like, oh, we could just take this out, and you could just still finish the game without it. And so that data was all still on the game. And that these brilliant modders are able to hack into the game, and actually re-release it with the data that has always been cut. A restoration mod, those are what those are called. And so Ycey used this as a basis for, in his Knights in the Darkness Part 2. It was a total droid planet. It's pretty cool. So if you want to learn more about the M478, you can also watch, there's a documentary. This is what I came across, and I told JC, I'm like, this is awesome. From Zull, Xull. If you search that on YouTube, you will find it. I'll also be linking you in the video if you're looking at this on YouTube. Xull and Sith Holocron. He's an old timer from back in the day when I was doing the original Logan movies. They have a documentary series about why the planet was cut in the first place from the game and the various efforts that have been to restore it. And you imagine like releasing a game and then it's completely, they're just like, let's just take this planet out after all that work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, finding some random exe file or something in a game's programming or something, and like parts of it work or whatever, and you're like, you were not supposed to. It's almost like an Easter egg.
Yeah, and you can access it, and then they were able to like weave it back into the thread of the game. Apparently, I'm in it. By the way,
what?
I'm in it. JC reminded me that I was in it. He's like, you did a voice for it, and I remember Sith Holocron. I mean, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, but like I would just be, I'll get to it. And I finally sent him these audio files of just me saying some lines. I remember doing that, but I just thought it was for something that just never was released. It's out right now, and I'm not playable, but I'm like a character in the town or a video game where like you talk to me, and then it's my voice. So we're gonna try to get that for the show in KOTOR 2.
The actual?
Well, no. The guys are, like I said, they uncovered all this data in the game. Modded. And then they modded it into the game. And so they needed voices for all the characters. They never recorded the voices when they cut the planet. So they just had me voice one of the people. So you could play the game, and then I'm one of the non-playable characters.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is wild.
So take a look at that, you guys. If you search anything, any sort of M478 Enhancement Project version online, the restoration projects, Deadly Stream, you Google that, you're going to find a huge community of very talented people and modders. They'll definitely point you in the right direction. And JC did some of the design of it, too, apparently.
Yeah. Speaking of mods, I have to point out in KOTOR Episode 3, Circle of Fate, when Zalbar takes the dead, guard or whatever, and is swinging him around to...
That's ice magic, as we call it.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yes. I remember being at MagFest. Everyone was hyped on that.
Yeah, and so
that was awesome.
Ice would know more of the technical details, and we're going to try to get an interview with him for one of the next episodes. But he basically made he made a melee weapon out of one of the guards, and then he just swings it around, and then it kind of looks silly if you don't cut away from it quickly. So
it was like full baseball bat status on everyone. That was just
you just got to imagine if that was live action, how rad that would look, and I hope that they have Chewie do that one day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's like the appeal of Wookiees is like seeing their strength.
Could you believe they cut that scene?
Kind of physical action as opposed to a crossbow or something.
Have you seen the cut scene? From episode 1, cut the whole movie. No, have you seen, I actually like episode 1. Have you seen the deleted scene from episode 7 where Unkar plot, 5 portions, quarter portion?
No, I have not seen this.
Chewie rips his arm out.
Yes.
Like they had a scene where he rips the arm out of the socket, but they decided to cut it. But it's like finally you get to see like why a Wookiee rips an arm. I'll show it to you later.
Disney.
Rips the arm out of the socket. I think it was just a little contrived. I think what they were worried about was contrived that, like, how would Unkar plot track them all the way to Maz Kanata's place.
Just let the Wookiee win.
Yeah. And again, good job, Zuul and Sith Holocron. And those guys, I don't know many of them at Deadly Stream, because I'm not really good at the modding. Like, I cannot mod. I had hit points in the first KOTOR movie when I didn't have my boys help me out. So, but you guys are awesome. Moving on, well, we got some sweet art. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, KOTOR_trilogy on Instagram. We have some sweet art that came through from Venomous, Venamis, Venomous, at Venomous. He's a fantastic artist. And you're seeing it right now on the screen. If you're listening to it on iTunes, just search him out or go to my page. And this actually leads into a gift that I'm going to give you, my friend. Because of you helping out with the KOTOR and shaving your head and your hair never fully growing back. So, I got you.
Gift for me? What are you talking about?
I got you a nice... I don't know. I like how I'm holding the microphone up to it like you can hear it. I'll take a picture of this, him with it, and it'll be, you're looking at it right now on YouTube, but there you go. It's a full, it comes complete with the tape. And they don't sponsor us, but by the way, if you go to Mixed Tiles, it's an app store. Again, they're not a sponsor. We don't have no sponsors. We have no listeners, to be honest. It was really cheap, actually. It's not as expensive as you'd think to get something like that done. Yeah, I printed that out and got one made for you. So, and then when I realized how sick it looks, I was like, I'm going to go back on it tomorrow and order one for myself, because now I kind of don't want to give it to you. But yeah, it's the art of Logan Starr and Mitra, and it's pretty sick. So Venomous, check out his art. He has so many more cool things. He's a really cool one of Hayden Christensen or Anakin in the Back to Tank from Rogue One, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, I thought you could put that up somewhere.
This is awesome.
And that's Mitra, the hero of Iceman's movies, and Logan. And that was fantastic.
This is rad. Thank you.
All right, now moving on to some KOTOR moves. That's Heroes of the Old Republic. In an effort to have more content, we're actually going to be staggering webisodes within production of our movies, because we don't want to go another 3 years or 2 years between movie releases. That's fine for big studio projects, but we kind of want to just keep on people's minds, and we kind of want to extend the content. So what we're going to do is, while we're writing on Revan movies...
Well, hold on. Let's get some ground basics here. What's the difference between Heroes of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic?
Knights of the Old Republic is the game property. Heroes of the Old Republic is a name we came up with for our web series.
Okay.
So basically what it's going to do is pluck at different heroes from across my movies and Iceman's movies, and it's like an anthology series. The best way I can describe it is, at the beginning of every episode, it's going to have a bleeping dot, and it's going to be a wide shot of the timeline. And you're going to see the Battle of the Star Forge, or when the end of the Mandalorian Wars. So you're going to know, like, this big timeline of where we are. And then all of a sudden, a little dot's going to appear. And it might be between episode 2 and 3. Or it might be between Knights in the Darkness 1 and Knights in the Darkness 2. A little blip. And then we're going to zoom in on that timeline, into that blip. The blip takes full screen. And then we're in a story with that hero on that part of the timeline. So it might be all out of order. And these are going to be short-form content, between 15 and 20 minutes. Some of them might even be 8 minutes. You don't know. We're going to launch with a two-parter with Caden Sentry. Josh Breeding played Caden Sentry most excellently. Caden Sentry is a very likable Jedi. A lot of people missed Juhani out of our movies. If you're not familiar with Juhani was a character that you can befriend on KOTOR or kill, whatever you want to do. So
I recognize that pose.
When we play, yeah, you did from editing your music video. When we played, when I, as Logan, played it, I thought there was too many characters already. Like, it's just too much. So I didn't even show her in the game. I had to kill her in order to move on. When you kill her, then you never hear about her again, or maybe you do, but you don't have to worry about her. So I killed her off. So when we got to episode 3, we were like, hey, we're going to have Juhani in episode 3. So here's a shot right here you can see of Caden right next to Juhani. Juhani's in the background. She's in a couple shots. It's a couple seconds. We had a whole sequence in episode 3 where Juhani was part of a strike team, and then she ended up getting, well, I'm not going to tell you because we might use some of that for what I'm about to say. So what we're going to do is we're opening up KOTOR, Heroes of the Old Republic, with a 2-episode arc showing Caden Sentry. He's going to go through what you do in the game when you uncover that Juhani's been kind of corrupted by the dark side. In the game, you have to fight her in this grove. So now, instead of Logan or the main character playing it, we're having Caden's going to be the one to do all that side quest stuff to save her, and then she's going to be an ally. So the premiere will be a 2-parter showing Caden's origins, showing how he came to the Jedi, showing Juhani, and getting Juhani in the fold. But here's the kicker. We're going to have a couple other episodes throughout the season, and then we're going to do a season finale, because in this photo, as I said, there she is. But what would happen if we do an episode where we see everything that happens in episode 3, but from her perspective? So she might run into Bria, she might run into some of the characters. She's going to see things from her perspective. My favorite, which I really want to do, is I just want her to look over and see when Logan first walks up to Caden.
You made it! Several Jedi have already gone into the Star Forge on the other side.
Bria.
Mr. Logan.
But from really far away, you know what I mean? You know exactly what they're talking about if you're a fan of the movie. You know what I mean? Right. So, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, I can't help the hip-hop fan in me can't help but go, ho, tor, mo, tor, holiday in.
Well, there you go. Why don't you're going to make you could do a music video with that. That would be fantastic.
If your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend.
We're going to wrap up this news, and we're going to get right to the Knights in the Darkness review. But first, I'm going to give you the second word for the DVD contest. And you guys are going to earn this because this show's going long, so props to you. Second word, Manon. That is the planet Manon. We're going to be right back with our review of Nights in the Darkness Part 2, Darth Ycey's awesome finale. But first, I'm going to put what we're going to do is in between segments, we're going to do what I call video karaoke. So I'm just going to take a spin of the wheel and show you a random video. This video is actually when I described how the word Rey was used using Alec Guinness in The Force Awakens. It was a video I made a little bit ago, and you can kind of see the movie magic and how that was done. And we'll be right back with our review of Nights in the Darkness Part 2. And here's a quick demo of how they got Alec Guinness to say the word Rey in the movie The Force Awakens. You take the original line here, which is...
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. That's when Obi-Wan is talking to R2 saying, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
And of course, in that, you have the word afraid right here.
Afraid.
And what's inside the word afraid? You have the word Rey. And that would be right here. So then you get him to say Rey.
Afraid. Afraid. Afraid.
And there you go. That is how Alec Guinness said the word Rey in The Force Awakens.
Afraid.
Well, let's talk about what we do love, and that's Nights in the Darkness Part 2.
Yes.
And that is Darth Ycey. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. You watch Part 1, and then you watch Part 2 immediately after.
So, obviously, you know, being a friend of yours for so long, I know and respect the effort and what it took to get that done. I mean, you made 3 movies editing on a laptop in your freaking bedroom, you know, and somehow still had a normal workload and social life. Blows me away. And seeing that someone else on the other side of the country was kind of doing the same things had his story and his versions and like I mentioned earlier, his wife doing the voice and kind of what his subjective playthrough of the game was. Yeah. I have so much respect for you guys for doing that. So watching that, not playing the games and not really knowing the stories of the characters, I didn't know what was canon, what was in the game, and what he made up. It was just all fresh Star Wars for me.
Yeah.
So the fanboy in me was just giddy the entire time watching this. There was this one scene, I loved it, at about an hour in.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There's this almost like kind of Vader Emperor tribute where, I mean, some of the lines of, you know, what is thy bidding, my master, which is just classic trilogy. Yeah. Again, not having played the games, but hearing that kind of stuff, I'm like, boom, I'm in. I was able to come in, even not having played the games and not knowing the characters and not knowing that, but just as a Star Wars nerd.
Well, let's get into some specifics here.
Sure.
I thought what I really stuck out with me, HK-47 was a badass, but what's interesting was he wasn't on the side of the heroes this time. I mean, he goes full on... You know, Terminator 2 style. And is whipping their ass. He's established in my movies as such a terrifying, like, robot, but, like, against the bad guys. And now, all of a sudden, he's doing the bidding of Goto. He's attacking the people that we care about. Like, it's interesting. Ice did a good job of turning a character that we all love, and for, like, it's like a heel turn in wrestling. Like, all of a sudden, Hulk Hogan throws down the red and yellow and says, I did it all, not for the vitamins and the prayers, but I did it for the money.
I was genuinely worried at the one point where he kind of had that, the reprogramming, and he starts talking all nice, and, like, I would never hurt anybody. Oh, no. Like, I can't. I was like, oh, man, are we going to have to deal with, like, a nice HK for the movie?
That would be blasphemy.
Oh, man.
Now, Miss Ice, we talked about that earlier. She did great. I mean, the level that she jumped from the earlier ones to the latter ones was fantastic. So we got to give you props on that, Miss Iceman. You did fantastic. This movie's full of the group getting their asses kicked. Like, when Atris and Kriya, all of their asses back on Telos or whatever. That was a great sequence, too.
The action in this one, all this combination of lots of action this time around, and good, solid, like, Jedi, Sith fighting. Like, yes, that's the kind of stuff I imagined, of, like, epic lightsaber battles.
How rad was Kriya with the floating lightsabers, and she's just standing there with the evil pose, and they're just They're just wrapping around her like
Yeah.
just like a boss. Like, love that.
Loved it. And then, of course, is the one guy that kind of has that, like,
Quips.
okay, I guess we're gonna do another lightsaber fight or something, you know, just
He
some
breaks the
kind of,
fourth
like-
wall.
Yes, exactly. It was just that little bit of relief and humor that, like, hey, we can have fun in Star Wars too.
We stand with her.
And with her stand all the Jedi.
And now I come in saying something suitably heroic.
Speaking of Atten, this is him getting his ass handed to him a little bit by a female. That happens to all of us, right?
He's boring. Thought I had some competition there.
Oh, well, it's not really a competition. I mean, you're kind of an idiot, Atten, and you don't shower enough, and you scratch your equipment when you think no one's looking. Don't take it too hard, though. That still makes you better than most people I've met on Nar Shaddaa.
Thanks.
The voice actor's funny. He always cracks me up. That scene always cracks me up. So I wanted to play that scene, but you just
Awesome.
gotta love that.
LOL'd for
Did you really?
IRL.
One thing I really like, the last scene on Dantooine when she parts with all of her friends and she's like, hey, look, I gotta take off. I got this other business. I gotta go find my boy Revan, yo. And you see that she's like, I'm gonna leave the Jedi in your hands. I never was a fan of making Atten a Jedi. I always thought if I was gonna make movies, I would just make him the scoundrel Han Solo type. Iceman's movie made me think, wow, it makes sense. I think it was so powerful that Mitra was able to rally these people and inspire them to become Jedi. And you see that when she's leaving, you have this group, and that she's like, HK, stay behind with them. And you have this group. These are going to be the new people, because at the beginning of his saga, like, they were down to pretty much almost no one. Props to you, Ice. You made me like Atten as a Jedi, and I think you did a good job of showing how important her work was to inspire these people to rally around. All these people were different, and they came together.
When you mention Atten as a Jedi, there's a specific scene. There was the twins, the twin Twi'leks.
Oh, early on, yeah.
And there was a shot on scene, and it was like this. Oh, those are some beautiful twins. Twins.
Oh.
Okay, so you can't see on the air.
He's doing the hand gesture for boobs.
Exactly. Totally tasteless, right? But I was like, I felt ashamed a little bit about thinking that because it was so obvious. So I'm like, okay, I got to turn this around. Then I was like, ooh, wait a minute, hold on. Cosplay. This scene.
Atten with two chicks that are dressed as Twi'leks.
That's what I'm saying. That can happen on the San Diego Comic-Con convention steps right in front. I was like, this could be a whole cosplay thing going on. So that was the positive to come out of that.
Another thing that always makes me laugh, that I think it makes Logan, aka Revan, kind of a perv. We're gonna cut into a clip of this.
I'm sure you're eager to change out of those clothes.
We have something to show you first.
I think it was just my performance or the way I said it, but he says, you should probably want to get out of those clothes. And then it just hangs on Logan's, or on the mask, for a little long. And I could imagine, like,
how did he mean that?
He meant it as just like, hey, I think, bro, or girl, you need to get out of your clothes. You probably want to get in your robes again. We always joking, Logan's always flirting with chicks in deleted scenes in episode 3 and with Bastila and stuff like that.
There's a double entendre there, for sure.
Yeah, when he's just like, looks like you want to get out of those clothes.
I'm sure you're eager to change out of those clothes.
But it hangs on the mask just long enough. I think it's just my twisted mind where I'm like, what's Logan thinking? And he's just probably, well, you know, Bastila's way far away. We're in the cave here. But that always makes me laugh.
Obviously, and this is subjective from being your friend and knowing Brandon and JC and Jenks, all of it contributed to this. At an hour and a half in, we go down KOTOR throwback lane. The first thing, of course, is, I believe it's Euthura when she commits suicide. Yeah. And that's your mom. And, you know, I know your mom.
You know my mom since you were little.
So that I immediately just was like, hold on. And I got on the edge, just like I am right now. I'm on the edge of my seat just going, oh, this is the connection. We're bringing it together.
He wraps up his quadrilogy in a nice little bow on Dantooine, right? And then it's like, but now we're going into uncharted territory. Now we're going to bring Mitra on this collision course with Logan and Revan, and everything's going to come together, and it's kind of like as important to me, I think, that scene as the first time you see Tony Stark interact with Steve Rogers in the Avengers movie. It's like the first 90 minutes of his movie is the wrap-up of his movie, and then the last 45 minutes is this freaking Avengers crossover movie of like both universes.
Right. I was now engaged in a way of like, oh, Revan and the Mandalore Wars, and from what you were talking about in your movies and the other stuff, there was just brief little mentions of Revan in the first one.
I noticed that on your notes for the first part.
Right. And I was like, oh,
you were excited.
Revan,
I remember there was a note. You were like, Revan mentioned.
Right.
First, he's going to love, because you didn't know at the time how deep.
Right. So then seeing this all play out in a, almost alternative universe.
Think of for the fans, too, of Iceman. He has his loyal fans that have followed Mitra up, that maybe weren't familiar with Logan. And then the Loganverse fans that didn't really know about his. And Abel's, in that one scene, especially later, when they hug, that scene gives me, when they hug, Jenks with the animation on that one, props. Even though she's half naked, and even though I made the joke later about him being a perv, and we're going to establish this in the prequels, it is a brother-sister dynamic. I think it shines through. You really see that, like, Revan was like a mentor to her, and that they were older brother, younger sister type dynamic. And even that art that you have, the picture that I gave you, you can see that Revan by the end is like, no, you've surpassed me almost at this point. Like, he totally acquiesces to her and is like, you saved me, like, I'm not letting you be humble on this one. And I love that dynamic between the two of them, and I can't wait to explore it in the prequels, dude.
I was super hyped on that, and the way the whole like kind of last third played out, just floored. Loved it.
The movie, he wraps up his KOTOR 2 story. Everything from then on is basically a translation of the Revan novel, which is this famous novel that it has a big divide on its fans and its detractors.
It's like the U.S. presidency.
Yeah, probably very similar, yes. And basically the novel, spoiler alert, the novel basically, and just if you've seen Iceman's movie, the same thing happens. They team up with this dude Scourge, and they're going to go face off with the Emperor. The Emperor is just super badass. In the novel, the Emperor kills T3. That's like killing your dog, let's be honest. Mitra is stabbed and killed. And Revan, instead of being killed like in his movie, Revan is captured and then is frozen for 300 years and then becomes a mini-boss in an MMO, right? So I like the MMO. I've played it, and I like some of the storyline aspects, but I hated the assassination they did basically on Revan, right? So what Iceman's movie did was do an adaptation of the Revan novel, but then with a little twist. If you notice, all of a sudden, and big spoiler warning here, the ending, everybody dies. And then what happens? We stop. We zoom in on Mitra. Mitra wakes up. And then that was our way of separating. And that still timeline exists if you want to play the MMO. But if we want to tell new stories, or we want to do something different, now we can. Without Mitra dead, T3 dead, and Revan captured for 300 years, we can do it. We can tell our own story. And the story we want to tell is Revan and Mitra teaming up to take on the true Sith, which is actually hinted at in the first two games, which we always imagined would be actually a species of Sith. Like, the Sith are followers, right? Maul and Sidious and stuff. But what if they were a real species? That's what we wanted to explore. And so his movie pays homage to the novel and then it blazes his own trail.
So, of course, we have the slave Leia throwback costume. I mean, you can't not mention it, especially when she runs out in it. You're just like, oh, it's a little wardrobe change,
Revan was a fan of it too, probably.
Which is awesome, because now we can have slave Mitra and slave Leia cosplay possibilities all over San Diego Comic-Con.
Let's see it, ladies.
And the Bastila hologram. That's
from the novel.
To talk about.
I thought you'd want to see how fast your son was growing up. Say hi to your father. Hello, Father.
That's from the novel.
Is that from the novel?
The name of the son was not named, but from the novel. And I remember when Ice said he wanted to do that, I was like, Revan has a tear down his eye, and he's like watching his kid. I'm like, do we want to like tie ourselves and lock ourselves down to this novel? And he pitched his idea, and he sold me on it, and he pulled it off. And we had Christina do the voice of Bastila, so he was able to do it. But yes, so in the story, by the time he gets that first hologram, she's like, oh, by the way, BT dubs, here's your son, Varen, which is an anagram on Revan, by the way. Varen, V-A-R-E-N.
But the key line in the whole recording was, I love you, Logan.
I love you, Logan.
I love you, too.
Yeah. That was the
interesting. What do you think of that?
The connection, that's the glue that right there, that was the Logan verse and Ice's verse, and
wow,
that
I didn't
was
think of it
the
that
like
way.
Boom, that's it. That seals the deal, because it's not whoever's subjective character of who they think Revan is. No, that's Logan.
I never thought of it that way. Now, I see that as Bastila knew Logan is Logan. Now, we know that Logan is a name given to him when his mind was wiped, because he was Revan. But when Bastila knew Revan as Revan, Revan was bad, and they fought. So I always felt, and I think it was a nice touch Ice did, that she says, "I love you, Logan." I think she would still refer to him as Logan because she fell in love when he was being known as Logan. She didn't fall in love with Revan, she fell in love with Logan. And now he has to deal with the fact that he is Revan and he is Logan. But I think it was very powerful, like you say, that she says the words Logan, and we wouldn't be able to do that unless we had a good voice actress to mimic Bastila. Because again, we don't have Jennifer Hale on speed dial.
Sure.
What do you think of Josh Breeding as the Emperor?
Awesome.
I like his take on it. It was like I'm just so above everything.
You are bold to approach me this way, but you have been exceptionally loyal to the Empire. I will reward your initiative this time.
Right. No, it was relaxed and relaxed in I got it under control, but I'm still badder than everybody in the galaxy.
I could flick my
finger.
Way,
right. This is not worry me. Yeah. Yes, that was very cool to kind of see that take. On that character.
We got to give props to my mom too. She played Nyrus. She always pulls in. She played Euthura, and the fact that I said you can't sound like Euthura, so she was able to do a cool Russian/Nazi sounding, type voice.
Why were you at Natima? What were you looking for?
Killing me will do nothing. The whole galaxy thinks I'm dead anyway.
Eventually, you will tell me everything I want to know.
Gotta give her props. She's always done well for our KOTOR movies. We all love her here, and I, for one, can't wait to work with her again. We have plenty of more opportunities for her in the future. So if you have anything else to say about the movie, I want to go through and do a little test for you.
That's just it. Major props to Darth Ycey and everyone involved with making those.
Yeah, it's funny.
And that. Hats off to you, man. The Star Wars fanboy in me is nerding out and love and respect and appreciate what you did. Congratulations.
You did a great job, my friend. So kudos to you, Iceman. You did a great job.
All right, whatever.
Huh. All right, so moving on. This is the big announcement I was talking about. It relates to my friend Taryn, actually, who's in NYC right now. Taryn is a friend of mine that I like to hassle all the time, as you do. And the way I do that is by sending her Hayden Christensen memes. Why do I do that? Because she absolutely hates Hayden Christensen. I myself actually like Hayden. I thought that episode 3 was much better than 2. I think that if anything, it was more a result of the writing and the directing.
I agree. I mean, if you look at the dude's other movies, the guy can't act.
He's great.
It's not his
Shattered
fault
Glass,
that,
he was good.
Right, sure. So
Life is a House.
Put him in rooms that are just surrounded by nothing but blue, and hopefully imagination is able, in the craft of acting, is able to break through that kind of stuff. But well, we all know how the prequels turned out, and I don't think you're right. I don't think it's not something you can point at one person and be like, oh yeah, these all sucked because of you, dude.
What came into my mind when I just did a Hayden Christensen impersonation.
You seem a little on edge.
Not at all.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of gundogs.
You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you. Remember?
Oh, yes. You're sweating. Relax. Take a deep breath.
I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master.
And I put it online thinking that I was going to get annihilated like Star Wars Kid. But instead, if you scroll through the Instagram comments or the YouTube comments, got a lot of compliments. Like, oh, this is good. If anything, I was doing my impersonation of Hayden. But I think it was just because it was different. It's like when they fire a coach and they need a new coach and the team starts to win a couple games because everything feels different. Here's the big announcement. I told Taryn when I said, well, would you like episode 2? We need to watch these movies before we get into Rogue One. She's saying, I ain't watching episode 2 or 3. And I'm like, well, you're really throwing away a good portion of movie telling here because of your hate of Christensen. I used to joke and be like, well, what if I was Anakin? Here's the big announcement. I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but I'm not, because I'm going to own it. I have now been making the preparations. I have talked to someone who will remain unnamed for now. No, it's Jenks, who's very good at it's Jenks, I'm calling
It's
him.
Jenks. It's Stephen Jenks.
What do we do with KOTOR, Kev? We wrote our characters around set lines from the game, and we try to expand it and tell our own story.
Right.
Revan never really had a voice. They gave suggested options of what he would say, but I would write what I was going to say. What if we put that to use and we do something that has not been done? What if we 100% do with Episode 2 Attack of the Clones what we did with KOTOR? What if I get a perfect movie replica costume of Anakin? What if I get a green screen and full lighting kit and sound mixer and camera, 4K camera, so it has all the pixels of the green screen? What if I take this camera and expand on what I did in 2003 when I didn't have a green screen, where it was just masking and just me screwing around doing a Hayden impersonation? But what if we then extend it and do what I did with KOTOR, which is rewrite Anakin. Keep everybody around me the same. We rewrite Anakin. We're still going to do the KOTOR movies, but we are going to write Anakin, and we're going to make him a little different. I've sat with Jenks. We've gone through every shot. We've seen all of the logistics of which shots would be hard. Thankfully, most of the shots are lockdown shots that I could easily place myself in them. Like, there's not a lot of moving shots. This is not a Paul Greengrass movie we're dealing with here. This is George Lucas in front of a green screen. And thankfully, a couple of the shots or scenes that are just too hard to place me in, if you put in and out and delete, you're not going to miss them. It does not affect the story. That means that the way we're going to rewrite Anakin is this. I'm going to add more Vaderisms to him. I'm going to make him less whiny. It all goes around the main fact that I'm not going to lose the sand line. That is the basis, because everybody always jokes and says, well, that sand line, even De Niro couldn't say the sand line correctly. But what if he hates sand? And I can't say that without laughing. What if Anakin hates sand because he has PTSD from the events of the first film? Not because he saw the first film and hated the first movie, but, you know, what, as a kid, he was torn from his mother. The only person that believed in him was this guy Qui-Gon, and then that guy was murdered a couple days after he was pulled from his hovel in Tatooine. He witnessed a battle on Naboo. He got in a ship that went on autopilot, and he went in and destroyed a droid control ship. All these things happened, and sure, they show him saying Wahoo. Now this is pod race. Yeah, they say him, you know, he's a brave little boy. I get that. Honestly, in reality, you get torn from your mother, your only father figure you have gets murdered by a frickin' red-horned Sith. You witness these events, that would screw you up. So what if he does hate sand, but it's because it reminds him that he ditched his mom, that his mom is rotting away. Every time he looks at sand, he thinks of his mom rotting away on Tatooine. When he thinks of Naboo, even though the novelization says he can't wait to see Naboo again, what if he has absolute anxiety about seeing Padme because everything about the events of The Phantom Menace freaks him out? What if we give him this PTSD? And then what if it's the Council's fault after his mom dies? What if he asked every year for a decade? Every year, every 6 months, every month he said, please let me go back to Tatooine. I'm being trained, I don't care, but can we go back to Tatooine and free my mom? And the Council every time said no. What would you do? And so what if we write Anakin as this man now? He'll be a little older, obviously I don't look like I'm 19, sorry. We're going to write around it. Perfect example. Coruscant, when he's outside, and he's like, you look tired, and Anakin says, I don't sleep much anymore. And he's like, why? And he's like, I've been dreaming of my mother. And he's like, dreams pass in time. And then Anakin says, I'd much rather dream of Padme. The next line Obi-Wan says is, be mindful of your thoughts, Anakin, they betray you. You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order. What if instead of saying, I'd much rather dream of Padme, because if we don't change Obi-Wan's line, what if Anakin says, you know what, I have half a mind to go to Tatooine myself without the Council's blessing, and go freer myself. Now, I can place that line right in the middle of that. It doesn't affect Obi-Wan's line, because now Obi-Wan says, be careful, you made a commitment to the Jedi Order, but he's reacting to what Anakin's saying about his mom. So we make that the focus of his story. But now, there's a love story, right? He's going to slowly fall in love with her, because everything about the Phantom Menace scares him. And I say that meaning, as a kid, everything it freaks him out. Sand, rolling hills. He is so nervous in that elevator. He's so nervous about seeing Padme, because he thinks that that's going to bring all the feelings back. But what happens when he sees her? Does the exact opposite. And that'll be the basis of why he starts to fall for her. Is like, here I was worried for 10 years that if I ever saw you, it would bring everything back. It would bring my mom back. It would bring Qui-Gon back into my world. And here I'm seeing you now, and it's doing the exact opposite. You still have the sand line. He's like, I hate sand. But then he doesn't say it gets everywhere, and it's not soft like your skin, and he's a creepy dude. No, he's going to say, I hate sand. You know why? Because it reminds me of Tatooine, and I know my mom's on there. And I know that she's rotting away there as a slave, probably. And I've asked the council every year to go for a decade, and they won't. By the way, the technical aspect we already have taken care of. We have the equipment, we have the technology to do it. Could I pull it off the acting? I hope so. If we do a couple scenes and it sucks, we'll release it and that's it. But if it keeps going and we like, hey, we're onto something, we're going to do the whole blippin' movie. And that's the big announcement. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to happen overnight. But if it's successful and we start doing scenes and it starts working, we're going to just keep marching through the movie and do a complete KOTOR. We're going to KOTOR the hell out of Anakin. What do you think about this? It's a lot for you to take it.
It is. Technical aspects aside of timing and sound design and all that kind of stuff of making it seamless. But I really like the idea of focusing the anger towards the Jedi Council, because I like the idea that maybe the Jedi Council isn't necessarily right all the time, because they have a righteous air about them. I think that's more powerful on a moral ethics level.
More relatable too, right? A little bit.
Right, and I think at the end of number 3, with the whole council and the Republic and all the main sides, of course, and the climax of the movie and all, I think there would be more sympathy, if you will, about why he is poised or more susceptible to what Palpatine is bringing him as, hey, this is a solution to your council issues that you have. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Now look, Disney's probably knocking on the door right now. I see some people walking up the stairs. They're like, no, you're not going to do that. I'm not asking you to go share this around the world at this point. This is just something that I want to do as a hobby and share it with my close friends, which are you, the KOTOR community. But I think we could have something really special here, and it all ties back to Taryn, because Taryn said she'd watch episode 2 if I was in it. So shout out to Taryn. We're going to wrap up with that. Kev, you have anything else to say?
After that announcement and whatnot in these movies, this all goes back to what I said, the passion and gusto to say, you know what, I don't like this, but I'm going to do something about it. I commend that, and as a skateboarder, that's I've been skateboarding my whole life. That is the DIY and the kind of FU attitude is the fundamental basis of it. That we're not going to accept this as is, so we are going to use it for what we see we want to use it for. And a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their heads around that, and that's just kind of the conflict we deal with. But I get that, and I respect that, this movie kind of stinks as is. I can change it. I have the ability, I have the know-how, I got the people who will support me to do it. Let's do it.
I know, if anything, I have the support of the KOTOR fans, and I think, if anything, they'll give it a shot.
Sure.
As you wish, Master.
Okay, so moving on, we're going to play a quick game here. This is what I've been really excited for. It's called HK or Canderous. So they're very similar in the fact that they're warriors and they like to kill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a quote to you, and I want you to guess if it is HK or Canderous that said it, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. First one. All right.
It's a 50-50 answer, so.
50-50. But try to use your noggin a little bit there, buddy. First one. And that, I am pleased to say, is where I come in. Who said that? HK or Canderous? And you folks at home could play along too. Who do you think it is?
Well, here's the question for you. I have to answer this question with a question, and that is, for the HK stuff, yes. The thing about HK is he puts every statement with observation.
I skipped that. I should have prefaced that in order to make this, because that would be a very stupid, boring game.
Okay,
I took
conclusion.
Out, he doesn't say conjecture or conclusion statement.
I am very pleased.
And that, I am pleased to say, is where I come in.
I'm going to go with Canderous.
Canderous, let's go to the tape.
And that, I am pleased to say, is where I come in.
That is HK.
I should have picked up on the pleased. You're right, I'm wrong.
Next. Something I like to say every time I go into a bar. Who wants to die first? Every time I walk into the bar, that's the first thing I say. I put my hands in the air, doves come out of my jacket, and I say, who wants to die first?
Okay, I'm going to go with Canderous, and that's some evil Sith thing.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Let's go to the tape. Who says, who wants to die first?
Who wants to die first?
Nice. Canderous it is.
All right.
So now you're 1-1. I'm hoping here odds makers have you going splitting it at 2 and 2. So you need to get 2 in a row if you want to beat the odds makers.
Well, I mean, we need best out of 5, right?
Well, I only have 4.
Oh,
that was good planning by myself.
Great. Nice one.
Maybe
we can do a bonus round. Or
we could do a bonus round at the next episode. People will be dying to. All right, here's the next one. Ready, Kev?
Yep.
Maybe you should start talking, or I might just get a little restless.
I'm gonna go with Canderous.
Why do you want to go with Canderous? What's your...
Because my HK has this whole, like, manners thing. About please and master and that kind of thing. And I feel like that line's a little too crude to be...
A little too badass, or not badass, but okay, a little too polite.
Yeah.
Or a little too crude.
Right.
Let's go to the tape.
Maybe you should start talking, or I might decide to get a little restless.
His voice is so awesome. Good job. All right. So you're 2 and 1 right now.
2 and 1.
I really hope you get the next one right so I don't have to somehow pull another one out of my ass. Here we go. Who said, everyone dies eventually, and not all of them by my hand?
Everyone dies eventually, and not all of them by my hand.
Folks at home, I wonder what you guys are thinking.
I'm gonna go with Canderous again because HK is an assassin droid, and not all of them by my hand. He wouldn't admit that.
Let's go to the tape. Was it HK or Canderous? He says Canderous. Who was it?
Everyone dies eventually, and not all of them by my hand.
Wow. All right, Kev. 2 and 2.
2 and 2.
What are you gonna do, buddy?
We'll do a bonus round here.
He's on the spot.
All right. I'm just gonna say it.
Okay.
And you get one chance there only. And this is kind of a softball.
That's usually how it works.
Ready?
Yes.
This is going to be fun.
HK.
This should be fun.
All right. Yeah. It's in the preview for. Okay. It is HK-47. So you win.
Yay!
There you go. 3 out of 2. 3 wins, 2 losses. Good job, buddy. That is our episode league game. HK or Canderous.
Episodic.
If you want to win a DVD, here's your third word. Third word of the day, 3 of 4. Mustafar. Mustafar is your third word. So you have the first 2. This third one is Mustafar, and there's 1 more to go. All right, this is what I'm sure is going to be your favorite segment, and maybe some of the others. This is what we call Kamikaze Komments. Both words spelled with a K, because it's cute that way. We had Strick scour the internet and find the most negative comments he can. You know, I actually like to read comments that are positive, but this is the opposite of that.
Yeah, Kev, I mean, anytime I can, I'd love to knock you down from your cloud. You know, it's all out of love, though. I went on a little kind of goose hunt here and tried to find some comments that I'm going to force you to react to, and you're going to have to respond to.
Now, just to give you guys a heads up, I did not help him look for these. This is all him, so I know that there's been negatives. I usually read them, and I don't delete them. I let them stay up there, but I try not to read them. So I'm nervous. I'm ready. I got pit stains. Let's do this!
All right. In October 8th, 2015... Star Wars KOTOR movie saga. This is in Facebook land.
You're so excited.
Curious what our movies are all about? See the trailer for our most recent effort, Star Wars KOTOR Episode 3 Circle of Fate, to get an idea of how epic and cinematic our goals are for the saga. With the Star Wars KOTOR Episode 3 theatrical trailer. Not the television spot, the theatrical
The one that played at all the movie theaters across the globe.
Yes. We have Mr. Dustin Ashley, who has
Love
a comment.
that guy.
What's this movie made on? PS2? 2 question marks. Good idea, but this looks terrible. Just saying.
It was made on an Xbox. I don't know how to respond to that, sir. Thank you for your support, Mr. Dustin, is it?
Dustin Ashley, yes.
Yeah, the movie was made with Xbox, which was kind of the same generation as the PS2, but I always felt like the Xbox was one step higher. To be honest, the graphics are a little better than the PS2. So he's probably looking at this thing like, you know, used to playing Mass Effect and the new Halo and Call of Duty and all these games now, Overwatch and everything that looks so good. And then all of a sudden he has something come up on his timeline, like, check out the Star Wars movie, and then he presses play and he sees it's utilizing models from, 2002 Xbox game or the PC. We try to make it look as good as... We thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed the trailer. That's all I can say.
So this is
you don't have to enjoy this as much as you are. You're kind of enjoying this too much. Next.
Moving along a little bit later to November 1st, 2016. Star Wars KOTOR movie saga. Here it is. The official announcement teaser for a brand new trilogy of films covering the rise and fall of the Jedi Revan from the early days to the Mandalorian Wars, Fall from Grace, leading up to the opening moments of the first KOTOR game. So it is the Star Wars Revan prequel trilogy announcement teaser.
That was the launch of KOTOR month, too, November 1st.
Right on.
10-year anniversary.
And
what's up?
Mr. Scott Baio.
Love Scott Baio? Scott Baio?
No, not the boss. Scott Baio.
The boss? Who's the boss? That would be Tony Danza. Scott Baio was Chachi.
Oh, is he in Who's the Boss?
Was he? No, he was on... Yeah, he was Chachi and then he was Charles in Charge. Who's the boss was...
Charles in Charge is what I'm thinking
Who's
of.
the boss was good old Tony Danza.
Okay. Scott Baio. Did anyone watch the video? It's not real.
I assure you, sir, it is... How would you watch a video that's not real? I tell you this, Scott Baio. How would you watch a video and then it's not real? You watched it. Did anyone watch the video? You did. You saw it. You pressed play. I don't know what to say. It's real. What do you have to say about that, Kev?
Well, I think he's referring to the fact that this isn't an official Star Wars canon movie.
Or, yeah.
Real.
Yeah, I mean, but... I really do go out of my way in the marketing to be like, look, it's machinima, this is based on the games. The other ones, and I don't know if you even get to it, there's a lot of comments that are like, oh, does this mean there's a new KOTOR game coming out? No, I always say, like when we were trying to promote KOTOR Episode 3, I would always say, it's KOTOR Episode 3 based on the first game. And no matter what, someone would always write, well, this isn't a new game, what is this? You can't please them all.
Yeah, maybe they just don't know.
This smile just keeps getting... You should see the smile on this guy's, my co-host's face right now. He's loving this. Anytime he gets a chance to do this.
So 2 days later, on November 3rd, 2016...
Hey, KOTOR month is the month to make fun of KOTOR.
Revan, the Mandalorian Wars. You've heard about them in the games, read them in the comics and novels, now experience them in an epic new animated movie trilogy. Coming in 2018... Check out our page for the announcement trailer and a whole lot more.
Notice the theme here. And notice how much I made sure people know what they're dealing with. Okay, continue.
Mr. or Mrs., not sure, Shane Savage comments.
Great name, Shane.
If it's coming in 2018, why does it look like a 90s PC game?
I mean...
And then
it's not like it looks like Monkey Island. And by the way, Monkey Island was a good game. We went to college together.
Awesome.
I would go to sleep hearing the sultry sounds of the Monkey Island soundtrack.
I will. How appropriate you fight like a cow the out of you.
I can't explain why they think it's from the 90s. By the way, if I had a game that looked like KOTOR in the 90s, I'd be pretty stoked. We'd be like, oh my god, look at these graphics. Because in the 90s, we were playing Secret of Monkey Island 2, we were playing Bubsy, we were playing Sonic the Hedgehog, we were playing those games. He's a little ahead of his time, so you know what? I take that as a compliment. If it was the 90s, yes, Dark Forces, pixels.
And Alex DeFeo follows up with, pretty sure RuneScape has better graphics.
I don't know what RuneScape is, but we're going to have that on the YouTube video. We're looking at it right now. RuneScape has better graphics. I'll be the judge of that. We're going to do a comparison, and then you guys can be the judge. RuneScape or KOTOR, you guys do the judge. By the way, thank you guys so much for the support and your comments.
And later on in the same thread, and this one
Same thread?
Same thread.
Oh, is this your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
No, but I can relate to this one.
Oh, God.
Ochinke Ata. I apologize if I butchered your name.
I don't think he's listening. Apparently, these people don't like my movies. I don't think they're listening to the 3-hour podcast about the movies from the 90s.
Who put Common in Star Wars?
Yes. Common, big casting announcement, you guys. The KOTOR live action. This is what I was going to say. We're doing a live action KOTOR. Just kidding, we're not. Common, since when? Hey, that's better than Montel Williams. We used to get all the time back in the episode 2 days. Bring it on. Now I'm ready. Now I got my. I'm good.
So this one's not. It's not an insult, and we've kind of already covered the ground. But I'll say it. Shout out to Kyle Anderson, who on January 29th, I finally got around to watching Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2, Episode 6, Knights and the Darkness Part 2. It was weird seeing Logan Starr's mouth move.
Well, thanks, Kyle Anderson. Yeah, it was weird for all of us. But what was it most weird for was Logan Starr himself. Think of this. For several years, he was communicating without having to move his mouth. You know, he didn't have to sync everything up together. He would just look at you with his eyes, and you would just look at his eyes, and you'd think, oh, he's talking. Now, The end, now he has to talk. Now he has to have... There's so much more acting ability, and I got to give credit to where credit is due for the actor that portrays Logan, that he was able to adjust. And I think with the Knights in the Darkness Part 2, he did quite well.
This one's very recent, about a week ago. Stay tuned.
Oh, this
Big
is
old
good.
Graphic,
I know exactly what you're
huge
saying.
announcement tomorrow. Mr. RJ Lopez comes in, probably just some Battlefront 2 news.
No, I'm going to take that as more, they're dissing Battlefront, because everybody kind of hated on Battlefront and everything like that, and everybody was disappointed that Battlefront didn't have a single-player mode. So I'm going to say, I'm right there with you, pal. You know, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm kind of guilty of this. It said huge announcement tomorrow, and what was the announcement? That we were going to do KOTORadio, and it was basically a video of KOTORadio, which was an announcement of when we were going to record it. So that big graphic you posted was a big announcement for the video announcement for the thing that's going to happen the following week. Good old power of marketing.
Big announcement. Tomorrow we make an announcement.
It's it's like those trailers now. Have you seen it? Where they're like, tomorrow, the teaser trailer for the trailer for the trailer. They have teaser trailers for trailers, and that makes me want to punch everybody in the face.
Kevin, we don't need a trailer
for your documentary. And now they have trailers for documentaries. Next.
All right, here we go. On the Hayden's Anakin Skywalker replaced YouTube video, published December 15th, 2016. Emma Kilty says,
Emma.
Dude, looks like Jake Lloyd, LOL.
Now that was one you probably really enjoyed. I think there's another quote that says, "Dude, is that a blanket? Is that your other highlighted one?"
Next one was, must be
nice
cold.
blanket, must be cold. Yeah, I think someone else even said, "You filmed the screen." I did film the screen. So I filmed the TV of episode 2. Then I filmed me against a white screen. I taught myself masking on After Effects. So that's why there's like that halo glow behind it. But it was funny. But let's move on. We're going to just nail through these fan Q&As here. These, thankfully, don't talk about anything negative. They're going to all talk about things positive. So we go out with the dark. That was the Empire Strikes Back of the show. And now we move on to the Return of the Jedi. Minus blinking Ewoks. So here we go. James Peters wrote, what happened to the main characters in Episode 3 who survived after the movies? And will you and Darth Ycey, or as Strick like to say, Ycey.
I don't like to say that.
You love saying it.
No. Well, Kev, once again, you and I agree.
Well, Kev, once again, you and I agree. Will you and Darth Ycey need to remake some of your old movies to make it fit better with the now current canon of your movies with Mitra and Logan? What I think they're saying is...
Great question.
Will we update... Well, we are updating Episode 1. I think they're asking if Iceman would update Episode 4. That's something you're going to have to ask him next time he's on the show. I would venture a guess. He's going to say no to that. It takes a lot of work. The special edition alone has taken Jake's over a year. Like, this is just crazy work involved. And so I know there was one negative comment that you didn't catch that I remember seeing it, where someone said, that Revan face is not my Revan face.
Yeah.
Would you do me a favor and do the movie again with my Revan face? It's the dude with the long hair. And it's like, yeah, let me take the next 10 years and redo the trilogy with your face. And then we'll go back and we'll do it with all the faces. So then you can just pick your Revan face. That's not how it works. So, as for the main characters in Episode 3 who survived, you're going to have to wait and see. I don't want to say too much, but if you heard me talk about KOTOR, I'll tell you that our Season 2 arc that we have involves a very funny and great character from Episode 3 merging with a character that you have not met yet from the prequels. And I think it's going to be very, very special, and I might have given away too much already.
Mr. Gain Time would like to ask, or did ask, things just keep getting better and better. My question, what made you guys want to create KOTOR movies?
I can't wait to hear what Darth Ycey says about that. Maybe he'll send a video next episode, and he can tell us his reason. For me, it was when I saw the twist, where the main character you play as, you find out was Revan this whole time. I remember playing that, and I stopped, and I remember telling my buddy Greg Schneider, who is the voice of Seth Drays in the movies, and also in the Megas. I told him, dude, you got to see the twist of this game. I think it's on par with Empire. It's better than I Am Your Father moment. I was so freaked out by it. Like, you got to see it. And he's like, oh, I want to see it. And I'm like, well, you don't want to play the 40 hours worth of games, so why don't I just go ahead and spend the next 6 years making 2 movies? So instead of him playing the game over 40 hours, probably in the next month, I made him wait 6 years so I could tell it to him in movie form. So it was really because that twist moved me so much that I thought this would keep my editing skills sharp, and I wanted Greg to see the movie, so that's what I did.
Awesome.
Thanks for the question, buddy. I'm glad that you didn't complain about the graphics.
KOTOR HD TV channel says, this is really nice. One question, if I may. How many people have been involved in the making of all those films?
Great question. I think we've answered it several times here today already. The first movie I did completely myself. The second movie is when I started meeting with JC and Jenks. The first shot JC ever did, I think, was the Sandcrawler shot when they were traveling with Canderous. And then they became helpful allies. And we were working with someone named Rags, too, I remember. A lot of the community came together, but the core, that was JC, who helped me, and Vatican, who is a famous member of the old forums, who helped me flesh out and write scenes. I also had a lot of help from Darth Richter, who would give me ideas on how to do it with the Xbox. He'd be like, hey, I have an idea. If you put on the Canderous armor and put a mask on him, you can pretend like he's just a random dude, and then you can have a lot of creative ideas were helped from the old forum members. But to give you an idea of what the team is now, you got myself, you got Darth Ycey, you have JC, you have Jenks. It's 4 of us. We have Dan, who's going to be helping and contributing, who you guys have not met yet, but he's contributing towards an awesome story arc for Heroes of the Old Republic, and he's steeped deep in Mandalorian lore, so he knows all about that. So he'll be a great help for our prequels, too.
There's the voice actors.
Of course. If he's asking about the creation of the game or the content, it would be the 4 of us. But then, yeah, we have a talented voice cast, including my mother. We had Kevin Strick in it, Greg Schneider, Eric Von Doimy, Josh. I mean, now I sound like I'm doing an Academy Award acceptance speech, and I sound like an idiot. So, lots of voice actors. Oh, another person that worked on our movies was Brian DiDomenico. He did a great sound mix for Episode 3, The Circle of Fate. I mean, that movie sounded phenomenal at that theater, especially when we had the LA premiere. Brian DiDomenico was great. But creating the actual movies themselves, it's got to be the Wizards, the trio. I call them donuts myself, bozos, and that would be JC, Jenks, and Darth Ycey. Without them, I couldn't do any of the crap.
So maybe about 20 people over the course of all 3 movies?
Good question, again, keeping me on point. I would say about 20, yeah. Some people pulled double duty. Alexis played the part of the Jedi twins, and she played the part of Sierra, so she had 3 parts in Episode 3. So a lot of people did double duty, and you hear that in video games too. You can start to recognize the same voices. Thanks for the question.
Pats, the reviewer, I was wondering, how did you come up with the film's original characters?
It depends. If it's via name, Caden Century name, that came from a script that I wrote way back in the day called Legacy, and that was the main protagonist. How I come up with original characters, we just wanted a way to be able to tell the story. We wanted to have more freedom to tell it more cinematically. So in Episode 3, Bobek, that was another character written that I had an idea from an old script. So it was really just pulled from all sorts of different things that I've written through the years, and we ended up bringing them in. So we wanted to be able to have a character interplay off, instead of just always relying on Zalbar, where we could subtitle it. We were like, hey, let's start writing characters and telling stories within this universe, and that's what we did.
Erica Hassemer, do you guys plan on adding more characters? If so, will you be needing more voice actors? Just curious.
Well, Erica, I hope you're enjoying your popcorn listening to our show right now. And I would say we are planning on adding more characters, and to stay tuned. Of course, we'll always need more voice actors. And you know me, I like to have a lot of our fans be voices. A couple of our pilots in Episode 3 were fans of the movies, and they got in just by being longtime fans. So, of course, we'll keep you posted, and we'll give everybody a shot.
This kind of follows up a little bit from 2 questions ago. Zachary Palmquistador, for the Revan film, are you coding entirely new planets and characters?
Well, the short answer is yes. We definitely are. I don't want to spoil too much, and I want to really focus more on Iceman's movie this episode. So in future episodes, we'll explain exactly what we'll do. I'll just give you one hint. Terrace, as you see it in Episode 1 and in our movies, is very clean. The prequels for the Mandalorian Wars, Terrace was a huge center of war and battle, and we are coding and doing new areas all the time for our movies. And you'll see Terrace in a whole new light. It will not look like what the Terrace you know. I'll give you that much. It'll look like a war-torn Terrace.
Okay, Nate Winan. Is there going to be another sequel about the Truth Sith? Also, will there be an interquel between the trilogies focusing on Revan?
He's asking, because both my trilogy and Iceman's trilogy now end on cliffhangers. My answer, and I hate to do this to you, Nate, I love the question. Stay tuned, my friend. I hate myself for saying this to you, but stay tuned, because if I'm saying stay tuned, that means you're onto something. That's all I'll say.
Right. Okay, Tyler Jackson asks, are there plans to make a KOTOR sequel following Knights and the Darkness Part 2?
Along the same line, Tyler, you guys are onto something. We didn't have that last shot on Knights in the Darkness Part 2 with whom you don't know who it is. We didn't do that on accident. There is always a purpose. That means we'll be making KOTOR movies using 90s RuneScape graphics until 2025. Everything is by design. That last shot did not just come there just to have. I love that people are typing in on the comments, True Sith. What about the True Sith? Is there a sequel? That means you guys are starting to talk about it, and that was our goal.
Awesome. Keystone asks, which movie in the trilogy was the hardest to make and why?
You know, I would say episode 2, because I stopped about 40 minutes into the edit, and then I moved to Austin. And then I had a little detour in Austin where I was partying a lot and just not really caring about KOTOR. Moving back into that world where, like, I had 40 minutes, I had this whole community of people waiting for me to finish it, and I hadn't worked on it in a while, and it was really hard to get my head back in the game. And so I remember I used to look at that and see on the forums it would be like 17% done or 40% done, and I'd be like, God, I don't know how I'm ever going to finish this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to sit down and actually record this. This is when I didn't have my ace crack team with me. It was pretty much me. Somehow, I say that would be the hardest one, because it was just such a delay in the middle of it, where it would be like we literally shut down production, or I did, for a year while I went out and had fun in Austin. And getting back into it, I got back to LA, and then I started focusing on my editing again and finishing it. But I would say, in retrospect, although Circle of Fate took the most years off my life because of that, trying to make that deadline for MagFest, and I'll never forget Darth Ycey. It's his episode as we're talking about his movie. It was like 2 in the morning. And I realized that we had not sound designed Bastila versus Logan and Logan versus Malik. We were recording this footage, but we were not using the in-game footage. So that meant every swipe of the saber, every back swipe, everything had to be... We had a sound library, but every connection of it, and I freaked out because I had so much more to do for that deadline the next day, and I like Skyped or texted Iceman at like 2 in the morning, 5 his time. I think he was waking up early, and he bailed me out. He did the sound design for those. So like
that's awesome.
That was hard. That was really hard. But the hardest overall, I think, would be overcoming that 8-month hiatus where I was just not into it anymore and just trying to like sit down like when we used to draw comic books.
Yeah, it's hard to pick up that creative spike from Gray Revan 159 hours ago. Just kidding. It's probably Gray Revan 15 from 9 hours ago.
Which is very important.
Do you ever see yourselves making Star Wars movies? Because you and Darth Ycey make great stuff straight from the video game.
We'd love to. I mean, we would. I can't say I would say no if Disney called me. If anyone's going to make a real Star Wars movie for me, I want Dave Filoni. He did a great job with Clone Wars, great job with Rebels. I hope they give him an Ahsoka solo movie. Let's all pray for that. Do I think that I would love to make a Star Wars movie? Yeah. And who knows what this would ever be a bridge to. I do it out of love and for fun. So, but I do appreciate that. When fans, like, you get that a lot, like, oh, move over George Lucas, or someone needs to call Disney. They say that about Iceman's movies and my movies all the time. And that actually, as Yoda says in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, brings warm feelings to my heart.
And last but not least,
I like this one.
We got Hi, I Am Awesome 6. Would you F, marry, kill Kreia, Zalbar, and Canderous?
So you know how this game works, right?
Yes, you have to...
F, marry, kill.
Yep.
I want you to go first, because I've thought a lot about this, because I saw this question way early on. So, from a fresh mind, who would you F, who would you marry, who would you kill?
Well, I think I would probably F, marry, kill in that order. Kreia,
so you'd F
Zalbar,
Kreia,
and Canderous.
Explain.
Well, Kreia's a female.
So you'd F her?
Yeah. Zalbar, a companion in a Wookiee life debt. I think you kind of look for that in a marriage, right? And kill, Canderous is just not a nice dude. So he can be removed from the gene pool, and I don't think I'd have a problem with that.
I love that you answered it that way. I passed this on to my KOTOR peeps and said the same thing. I said I would F Kreia, because she's a woman. Also, someone made a good point. She has the Sith Force, she could probably morph her face to look like any chick you want. So you could be watching Saturday Night Live and
I don't think she'd morph your face so much as
her
mind
face.
trick you.
Maybe, yeah, mind trick me. Make me think that you're Angelina Jolie or Zalbar, yeah. So I would definitely F Kreia. I would marry Zalbar because also if it's cold, keep you warm. Although I hear in the game there's a lot of content about how he smells all the time. Like, I really want my Wookiee to be, like, nice and clean, so just lots of washing. Kill Canderous, because also Wookiees aren't trying to bang you. So, like, when you're married, like, you're not going to have this expectation of having to have sex with Zalbar. He'll probably let you take a woman home and be like, look, I'm your life partner. It's life debt. Marriage is a life debt anyway, if you think about it. Meanwhile, Canderous, if you're married to Canderous, he comes home with some Mandalorian ales, and he just finished his drinks, and he's drunk. He's going to come home looking to bone. So you're going to have to bone him, and if you don't, he's going to get rough with you because he's a Mandalorian. So yeah, kill off Canderous, F Kreia, and marry Zalbar. We have the same exact thing.
Nice.
There was... Ycey did mention saying something about that he'd make weird Wookiee sounds in his sleep and snore a lot, and I cannot stand. I mean, yeah, look, if Zalbar snores, I mean, we might get a divorce pretty early on. I know that Ycey was saying, you know, marry Canderous because he'd be hilarious to be around every day. But, I mean, so is Zalbar. He's a Wookiee.
Yeah, but Canderous has ill intentions.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't want to marry someone with ill intentions.
No.
Canderous would cheat on you, Darth Ycey. For the record, I want everyone to know. And hashtag Ycey marries Canderous. I want that to trend on Twitter or on our hashtag Ycey marries Canderous. I want that trending on our YouTube comments. But first, let's go for our shout-outs. Kev Strick, you got some shout-outs you want to give. Before you do that, I just want to give a shout-out to my buddy Tyler Verdict and his son Noah, as I like to call him, Noah 1 Kenobi. And as you see in the video here, I animated him where he's fighting off like stormtroopers, and I added a lightsaber, had him deflecting blaster bolts, flinging around.
I did see that. That's awesome.
So Noah and Kenobi, you are our favorite Jedi. And then he got to name his little bro's middle name. He gave the middle name Anakin, which I thought was cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very cool. Thanks JC, obviously, for gathering all the video presentation for this. And then before I give that last shout out, let's go ahead and Kev has a great idea for his shout out, so I got to give you props on this. I like this.
Well, yeah, as I was going through and trying to find kind of not so awesome reactions for you to respond to, I just noticed certain people were always commenting and you know, kind of super fans here. So I just have a couple people here to give a shout out to. Laura Bignon, or Binion, not sure how to pronounce the last name. Apologize for that. As one Darth Revan person who has donned the costume, I see you are a Darth Revan super fan, and so shout out to you.
We salute you.
Super stoked.
Laura is awesome. Like, she dresses as Revan, and she'll do like belly dancing. Like, she's a full-on like belly dancer. The performing artist. She's out there in France. She's a big fan of our KOTOR trilogy. We met her through the Instagram. You're only going to find on her YouTube channel, Revan Belly Dance. Check this out. We got Revan dancing at Paris Games Week. So she dresses as Revan and will do the little dance, and that's it. So we salute you, Revan Belly Dance. Thanks for being a super fan. We appreciate you. And she does good art, too. I got to post some more of her art. Next up,
Erica Hassemer.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Erica. We hear from her all the time. She's great. She always likes to post pictures of her popcorn before she's going to watch our movies, and she's been a big supporter of our movies for as long as I could remember. So, Erica, we salute you.
This last one goes to Alexander Stylianu, who...
easy for you to say.
This particular post shared the Worlds Collide trailer number 2.
Nice, thanks for sharing.
And had the comment, what an absolute day for nerd hype for me, as I love Star Wars, the title for Episode 8, and the trailer for 3 awesome-looking movies.
All right.
What's up?
So we got Alex, or Alexander.
Alexander.
We got Erica, and we got Laura. We like you guys. At the end of every episode, we're going to always shout out 3 of you. So don't worry. We have a lot of you guys on our radar. We appreciate all you fans. You guys really do make it worth it for us. For that, the final word of the day, and whoever writes this, you better jump on and start typing in the 4 words that I've given you. M499. That is M499. But Kev, I had a great time with you, man. Like, pardon all the dust in here. We're trying to get our together here. We're going to try to get things tight. There's a lot of content, believe it or not, that we didn't get to today. So we already have a packed episode 2. Kev, I think the fans are going to fall in love with you, man. I obviously have known you for years and appreciate you and everything you've done. And who knows, Admiral Strick might show up. He's a fighter pilot. Fighter pilot during those days.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for allowing me to be here. I've been bugging you to do a KOTOR radio podcast for quite some time, so this is a little bit of a birthday present for me. So I'm really hyped that we actually made this happen. So
Kev's birthday, by the way, was yesterday or 2 days. Well, 2 days ago now. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. We started this on a Wednesday and we end on a Thursday. High five, brother.
Right on.
We love the KOTOR fans out there. Feel free to write in the comments what you think, what you want to hear from us. Is it too long? Is it too short? I mean, some people might want to hear us for 5 hours. Let us know in the comments or on the Facebook group. KOTOR_Trilogy is on Instagram and Twitter. We got our Facebook group. Anybody want any other shout-outs?
Just thank you for everyone that's actually made it this far.
All right, guys.
Wonderful. Up the irons.
Up the irons, and we're going to... all of his emails are signed Up the Irons. We appreciate you guys, and we look forward to doing this all over again with you for another 16 hours in a couple weeks.